Hello and welcome back to Bethel Live. We're really thankful if you are new here or you've just joined us for the first time today. And yeah, we're just thankful for all the people that are supporting us with over 120 subscribers. Now we're going to be reading John 14 actually.
If you love me, you will obey what I command, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another counselor to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him, because it neither sees him nor knows him. But you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. Before long, the world will not see me any more. But you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. On that day you will realize that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. Whoever has my commands and obeys them, he is the one who loves me. He who loves me will be loved by my Father, and I too will love him and show myself to him. Then Judas, not Judas Iscariot, said, "But Lord, why do you intend to show yourself to us and not to the world?" Jesus replied, "If anyone loves me, he will obey my teaching. My Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. He who does not love me will not obey my teaching. These words you hear are not my own. They belong to the Father who sent me. All this I have spoken while still with you. But the Counselor, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you all things and will remind you of everything I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid."
All this I have told you, so that you will not go astray. They will put you out of the synagogue. In fact, a time is coming when anyone who kills you will think he is offering a service to God. They will do such things because they have not known the Father or me. I have told you this, so that when the time comes you will remember that I warned you. I did not tell you this at first, because I was with you. Now I'm going to him who sent me, yet none of you asks me, "Where are you going?" Because I have said these things, you are filled with grief. But I tell you the truth, it is for your good that I am going away. Unless I go away, the Counselor will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. When he comes, he will convict the world of guilt in regard to sin and righteousness and judgment. In regard to sin, because men do not believe in me. In regard to righteousness, because I am going to the Father, where you can see me no longer. And in regard to judgment, because the prince of this world now stands condemned. I have much more to say to you, more than you can now bear. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on his own, he will speak only what he hears, and he will tell you what is yet to come.
When you start out learning to drive, everything is new. isn't it? And so you literally have to have somebody sat next to you, talking you through the whole thing. Very, very few people are able to learn to drive just reading the theory about it. You have somebody there, usually with their feet nervously hovering over pedals, down by them as well, talking you through the whole thing. And then as the course of lessons progresses, usually your teacher will say less and less, because something of what was their knowledge has now become your knowledge. And that's how learning works. That's how information is imparted to us. I don't mind confessing to you today, to admitting, I failed my first driving test. And my second. I was a very expensive child to raise. Because the truth is, it's one thing to drive when you've got someone right next to you talking you through the whole thing. It's quite another thing when that coach is absent and you're tested now on not on their knowledge, but on your knowledge. It's true, isn't it, that as we seek to grow spiritually, this whole business of remembering is vitally important. You know, it's one thing to sit and listen to a talk about the peace of God. It's quite another thing then when that is tested in our lives, like for many of us it is right now, to hold on to those truths. It's one thing to read Jesus's words about worry and what he teaches us about that. But then when we do worry about our jobs, our health, our relatives, whether we're homeschooling, okay, whether the kids are going to come out the other side of this, okay, how this is going to affect us all, it's quite another thing to hold on to those things that we've learned and heard from Jesus in the real world and in the tests and the trials of our lives. It strikes me that the best teachers don't just give us knowledge, they give us wisdom. They become a guide for us. And what I mean by that is that it's not just information. Part of the way that they see the world becomes part of the way that we see the world. I've reflected a lot in my life that so often the problem is not that I don't know the word. I'm not bad on knowing it. The problem is that I don't see through the word. And so when certain things happen in my life, I label them differently. I describe them differently. You know, it's like a driving teacher can tell you how to do a turn in the road maneuver or a 3-point turn. They can't tell you when you should choose to do that. That's something that comes through experience. We spiritually often have such a short-term memory of the things that the Lord has given us to do and told us about. Sometimes the problem runs even deeper. The problem is not that I have a bad memory, it's that I've also got a muscle memory. My body and my life and my spirit respond to things in a way that feels instinctive. And to learn a new habit is going to take considerable effort because there are old habits there. What does it mean for us to grow spiritually? And as we're thinking in this series about the Comforter and what it means to walk with the Holy Spirit through these strange days and at this strange time, what does it mean for us to grow in our relationship with the Holy Spirit? When we keep forgetting, when we keep reverting back, when we keep failing. Jesus here in the upper room has many tremendous promises about the Holy Spirit, but I want to focus on this one tonight. Jesus in these verses has been talking about that place in God, that relationship that we can have with God, and that link between love and obedience, that there's a place where we can live within the love of God, where we can know the safety of the ways of God. And so often we want to have the love of God but live in our own ways, but those things are inseparable. And for the disciples, I'm sure at times it was overwhelming as Jesus, who just lived the way of the kingdom, for whom grace and compassion and peace and hope and love were as instinctive to us, to him, as the old habits are to us, was imparting so much knowledge to them. And these next words must have been so comforting. All this I've spoken to you while I'm still with you. All of this. But when the Comforter, the Counselor, the Advocate comes, he will teach you all things. He will remind you of things that I've spoken to you, and he will reveal what is yet to come. A revealer who will reveal the way, reveal the Lord, and reveal the future. That's what we're promised in the person and the power of the Holy Spirit. It's the difference, not just between a map and a sat nav. It's the difference between a sat nav and actually having somebody there with you who knows this road. Actually, not just knows this road, designed this road, designed the car, and designed you, the driver. That's the difference. Jesus says he's been with you. He will be in you. In the person of the Holy Spirit, we're promised an inner guide to the tests and the trials and the challenges of life. Maybe you've had the experience of suddenly remembering something that Jesus has done or said, either in the Bible or in your life. Chances are that's the Holy Spirit ministering to you. As you seek to listen to him, as you seek to grow in him, that sudden new memory that forces a new response out of you. And the more we do that and creates a new habit, that's part of the inner working of the Holy Spirit. And that's something that Jesus promises he'll do, and something that he's wanting to do more and more in the course of our lives. I think we're realizing more and more at the moment, aren't we, as we use our cars less and are locked up inside our homes and an awful lot more, that relationships are built on habits, and healthy relationships are built on healthy habits. I want to ask us tonight, what's your habit of relationship with the Holy Spirit? What's that rhythm like? Somebody once put it brilliantly that to fail to plan is to plan to fail. And so in what ways are we planning to grow in the Holy Spirit? Because it's not just going to happen. I'm excited as I read through the book of Acts in the New Testament about the ways in which the Holy Spirit guides the church. And one of the early ways is that the Holy Spirit comes to people and speaks to them. And that's just one way that the Holy Spirit can guide you. There will be a thought that comes from somewhere that doesn't sound like another thought. There'll be a verse. There'll be a words of a song. There'll be the encouragement of a friend. There'll be a picture of something that gives you a new way of looking at the world. The Holy Spirit can and will speak to us. But that's not the only way that the Holy Spirit guides people in the Bible. You know, there's one time when Paul has a real passion to get somewhere, and he's driven by this burning passion to preach the gospel of Jesus where Jesus is not yet known. And that's a good passion, that's a godly passion, and he just wants to do that as much as he can. And there's one point when he's trying to get somewhere, and he keeps trying to get into it, and he describes it this way, that the Spirit of Jesus would not allow him to go there. That's amazing, because this is a godly thing. He wants to preach the gospel, but it's not the right time. Paul, at the moment, is not the right person to reach these people. And so the Spirit of Jesus prevents him from going there. The Holy Spirit guides him away. Now, we don't know the exact circumstances of that, but it's very clear that the Holy Spirit shut the door to that place. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will speak directly. Other times he will speak through circumstances. You know, so sometimes the greatest prayer that we can offer is, Lord, if this is right, open the door. If it's not right, close the door. And he will do that, just like he did for Paul. Something might be a good thing, but if it's not a God thing, he can shut the door to it. There's another amazing point that in the New Testament, I often think about this. The early church are debating whether they should allow non-Jews to become Christians, if that's okay. It seems strange to us now, but this was a big debate back in the day, and they're really seeking God and trying to work out what has happened. Some people have non-Jews have become Christians through the ministry of Peter, and the church has got to work out that mess and what it looks like. And they write to everyone after that time of discussion on how the Lord has led them. And they say this: it seemed good to us and the Holy Spirit. I mean, this is the biggest decision. If the church go the wrong way on this, that's disastrous for the call of Jesus on his church. And it means that the gospel would probably never have reached you and I. It seemed good to us. Is that enough for the biggest decision the church had to face in its first generation? Seemingly it was. And the Holy Spirit can guide us sometimes in that way. There's an inner peace about something. There's a deep contentment and rest in something that sometimes might look ridiculous to everybody else, but it seems right to you and to the Holy Spirit. He's wanted to guide us in countless ways, but a guide is only any good to you if you listen to them. And then their guidance is only as good to you as your obedience of their guidelines, of their directions, of their instructions. I remember as a young person, there was one particular youth camp that stands out to me as significant. I was in a funny place, really, in life and in faith, and we were having this discussion about what it means to follow Jesus. And I remember just being really difficult, just saying the wrong things, trying to kill conversation, trying to be awkward. And it was really frustrating, I'm sure, for the youth leaders that were trying to lead that time. And then towards the end of that week, they began to speak about Jesus saying to his disciples, listen, you've heard it all, but wait until the Holy Spirit comes, because he's the one that will activate all that you've learned in your life. And the person leading saying, some of you've got questions, some of you've got frustrations, some of you've got moments of real failure, and Jesus just wants to give you the power of his Holy Spirit to live this life. He said really poignantly for me, very memorably, it's not difficult to live like Jesus. It's impossible, which is why the only way to do it is to allow the Spirit of Jesus to come and live through you. And that's what Jesus promises to do. And I remember that night almost begrudgingly saying, okay, if this is real and if you can do this, fill me with your Holy Spirit. And experiencing the power of the Holy Spirit for the first time come upon me and fill me. And the whole experience changed me. I can honestly say the questions didn't go away, but they didn't seem as important as before. Actually, now I had new questions about what this meant and what I could do now and how I was going to live in the light of what had happened to me. The Holy Spirit wants to fill us with his power, but it's not power to do what we want. It's power to walk in the life and the ministry of Jesus. We're promised a guide, someone who can sit with us in the tests and the trials of life, to reveal Jesus, to reveal the way, to reveal the future to us. But he won't take the wheel. That is still down to us. And so how are you planning to grow your habit of your relationship with the Holy Spirit so that he can guide us through this time? What space and time are you carving out in order for him to guide you, whether you through circumstances or feelings or speaking to you or in countless other ways? What space is there in our lives between what's happening and our reaction to it for the Holy Spirit to breathe the life of the kingdom, the way of Jesus, onto us and into us and through us?